Okay, so it's already recording class. So again, I'd like you to welcome class to this online class that we have for this afternoon on Computer 1 subject. So this afternoon class will be trying to discuss on internet. And since we have already started this lesson last week, we are just going to do a recall on the previous discussion. And then from there, we are going to continue with our discussion about the internet. So class, I'd like you to type in there your name, and then beside your name is that I want you to share some ideas that you have learned from our previous discussion about the internet, or what have you known, or what have you understood from our previous discussion about the internet. Okay, class, I'm now waiting for your answers to show up in our chat box. So, any idea, class, or any terms that you can remember from our previous discussion?
HTTP.
So, we have discussed about HTTP, which stands for? Okay, that's one of the protocols used over the internet. What else? Any other ideas, class, that we have discussed last meeting that we had? Okay. So maybe just to show you overview. So the birth of the internet is on January 1, 1983. So in what particular instance, class, or how do this internet came into existence? At what particular event do this internet came into existence, or what triggered? Okay, so there was a Cold War class between US of A or USA as well as class with the should I say class to Russia. So later we'll be discussing class about this Cold War of the record. Okay. So we have here again the internet started class as a way to communicate between universities, government agencies to do research in the times of Cold War between US and Russia. So there was a problem class with how the way they communicate. So long before, Russia was known as USSR. Okay, USSR, and it was still a union, a Soviet Union of some countries near Russia. So again, when we say the internet class, it is the largest global network of computers. At the same time, it is the cheapest and fastest means of getting information, as well as if you want to publish or if you want yourself to be known to the whole cyber world, so you can publish lots of things about you and they will know who you are in the cyberspace. So brief history, again, it started, there was a Cold War that exists between US and Soviet Union, and then from there they were able to, the US was able to create this ARPANET as a way for them to communicate and exchange researches between government agencies. So that's the main purpose of the internet long before. And then as time goes by, there were still lots of research organizations came to join and participated into this ARPANET. And then since class, in addition from the different academic and research organization that has joined, by the year January 1, 1983, or by the year of 1983, the breakthrough of the internet has begun. So we're in January 1, 1983. This marks now the official birthday of the internet. So aside class from celebrating the new year, every January 1, we are going to recall also that this day, that on January 1, 1983, it is the official birthday of the internet. Then we have also known class last meeting that there are two ways to connect to the internet. Can you give me, class, these methods to connect to the internet? Any idea?
Dial-up and direct connection.
Okay, so we have dial-up and direct connection. So for example, class, which method do I use if I'm going to use my mobile data? In which type of connection do this refers to? If I use my mobile data to connect to the internet, is it dial-up or direct connection?
Dial-up.
Okay, so that's a dial-up connection, because before you can access to the internet, you still need to ask permission from your ISP or the internet service provider before you can connect to the internet. And that's what we call class dial-up. So mean to say, every time you connect to the internet, you are going to ask permission from your service provider. That means if you do have your load balance to connect to the internet, then you can gain access to the web. If not, so dili ka maka-view with the different websites and application. How about class if I have a Globe fiber connection at home or a Ability fiber connection at home? Is it direct or dial-up connection?
Direct.
Okay, that's a direct connection. Why? Why do we refer this class as direct?
Wire connection. Wire.
Okay, so there is a dedicated line coming from your ISP going to your home. So, di ba, if you can remember class, if you can take a look outside, if you do have a direct connection, there is a fiber cable running from your home going to the box of your ISP. So hence class, we call that one as direct connection. So between direct class and dial-up connection, which one offers a more stable internet connection? Is it direct or dial-up connection?
Direct, sir.
Okay, so of course class, that's your direct connection because it has a specific line coming from the ISP to your home. So mean to say class, if you have this cable, it is more stable compared to dial-up. So nga man dili man stable ang dial-up connection? It is because class, these are so-called class wireless connection. And these wireless connection are of course, there are lots of signal interferences which can hinder or which can affect the quality of data as it passes through the space. Say for example, if your area class is located near the road, so you could see class that there are lots of vehicles coming or going in and out to your home. So in that way, this noise class of your vehicles can somehow affect the internet connection at home. So for example, you are using either your broadband, kung ay mo labay class nga sakyanan, somehow ma-interfere niya ang signal, so muhina og kalit, then labay na pod, mukuso na po siya balik, so dili nga naka-stable. Pero class, right now, I guess, are you familiar class with 5G technology? Class, have you ever heard about 1G, 2G, 3G, 4G, and in the Philippines, we are starting to build the 5G network, although it is not so vast, that there are only limited area which can experience this 5G connection. Okay, so have you ever heard class about 5G technology?
Yes, sir.
So what's the difference between 5G and 4G technology?
5G provides faster speeds of connection for streaming services like Netflix, Hulu, Disney Plus.
Okay, so that's right. So your class, your 5G technology offers a faster internet speed connection and a more stable connection as compared to 3G, 2G, and 4G technology. So mas pas class ang ma-offer niya nga speed. So perhaps class, in my experience now with 5G technology, my internet speed ranges from around 50 to 500 Mbps. Okay? So nga nakapas-pas class ang 5G technology. So although class, here in our region or in Baybay, this is not yet the standalone technology. This is still NSA technology. So NSA class means to say non-standalone technology. So this technology is built on top of 4G technology. But from here, we could really see, we could feel that there is now an improved speed when it comes to internet connection, because class, with 4G technology, I can only have a speed ranging from 10 to 30 Mbps, but with 5G technology, I can have a speed class from 50 to 500 Mbps. So from there, you could really see, class, that our internet speed is now improving. And of course, we thank class for this telecommunication service provider na nag-roll out of 5G technology in our area. Okay? So, questions so far, class, or clarification? So, kung hinayin nyo ang internet, class, so perhaps you might need a 5G technology para mo increase ang speed. So, anyway, class, there are now mobile phone which ang price ranging from 13,000 to 20,000 na 5G na. So if you do have that one, so you are very much privileged to experience, class, the 5G technology. Okay, pero if dili kayo nga nakaka-class ka stable yung internet connection, it's okay. So no problem with that. Well, anyway, this class is recorded, so you can replay and watch this video again if there are things which you missed along our discussion. So far, class, questions or clarifications about direct and dial-up connection?
No, sir.
Okay, I hope, class, that's clear. So we have also discussed, class, last meeting about data routing, wherein we need, class, your router at the same time. In our case right now, we have a modem at the same time, a router at the same time, an access point device. So it is a 3-in-1 device. Modem na, router pa, access point pa. So that's what we are offering right now. So it's an all-in-one device given to from our service provider. For pwede po, class, you can buy your own modem, which has also the capability to become a router at the same time an access point device. So we have also learned, class, last week or last meeting that we had, that every device connected to a network has its own IP address. So, paasa man yung IP address? Any idea?
To give a kanang fixed address on computer so that we can remember
Okay.
what computer that we.
Yes, that's right. How about the others? Any idea? Any other idea? Class, some more idea?
Trace kanang where the computer is and send the correct data.
Okay, to trace and identify which computer is accessing to the internet. Okay, so class, so just like us, di ba, we do have our should I say residential address, or should I say, class, address. So what do we need to have an address? Well, of course, class, if you don't have address, how can we reach you? How can we contact you? And how can we even know where you live if you don't give us your address? So me to say, class, every computer or every devices, class, connected to the internet has their own IP address so that we can trace who connects to the internet, from where do this device is coming from, and for possible tracing. For example, if one computer, class, is doing some malicious activity over the internet, like for example, they are trying to rob a bank, they are trying to do unauthorized fund transfer, so these network administrators, class, can really track and identify where do this individual lives because of their IP addresses. They can determine, class, in which country do this hacker reside, in what particular municipality, because they can contact with their different internet service provider and ask for details to whom do this IP address belongs to. So, yan a class ang purpose sa IP address, aside from giving a specific address to every devices connected to the internet. And then if you could imagine, class, there are lots of devices connected to the internet. So is it really possible to assign IP addresses to each device? Is it possible, class, nga matagaan yung IP address kada device connected to the internet?
Yes.
Okay, yes, of course, because you cannot connect to the internet if you don't have an IP address. Therefore, class, every devices na siya IP address. Now, another question. Can two devices have the same IP address? Is it possible, class?
Naunsa, sir.
Nga naay duha ka device then the same sila IP address.
because it would conflict with the servers and it would ultimately break.
Okay, so it is not possible, class, to have two devices having the same IP addresses because again, class, it will create a network conflict. So if that happens, both devices cannot connect to the internet if that happens. So none of them can connect to the internet. So again, class, to reiterate, we cannot have two devices having the same IP addresses. Okay, so there are two versions, class, ang IP address nga gi-employ right now. We have our IPv1 and IPv4. So it only differs, class, with regards to the number of devices that it can cater. For example, no, ang IPv4, class, can cater much more devices as compared to IPv1 or IPv2 nga internet IP address. So basta ka na makater. And then tungod, class, ka nagka-increase man ang number of devices connected to the internet, hence we do have now the IPv4 addressing scheme to address this problem nga. They really projected, class, nga somehow, someday, there could be a shortage of IP addresses. Therefore, they need to recreate and then they need to redesign the IP addressing scheme para makater tanan nga devices connected to the internet. Hence na gawas, class, ang IPv4 nga addressing scheme. Question, class, or clarification about IP addresses?
No, sir.
Okay, so this time, class, we'll talk about protocols used over the internet. So what do we mean when we say, class, protocols? Any idea? Or have you ever heard, class, the word protocol? Yes, it could be instructions, it could be rule. What else? Okay, it could be rules, rule. Okay, so you have there your idea. So should I say, class, these are the rules over the internet? I mean to say, class, how should these devices communicate with other devices? Okay, so man nagtawag, class, og protocols used over the internet. How should we exchange information over the internet such that one device can see this web page and another device can also see this web page in the same format? So that's what we call, class, protocols, or the standards on the means of exchanging information over the internet. Because again, class, the internet is not only limited to computers, but also we can now have mga laptops, mobile gadgets, and so with other electronic devices which have the capability to connect to the internet. So the question is, how should these devices exchange information and how should they interpret this information para they can exchange information without problem? Hence, we do have, class, these protocols or the standards used once we go through over the internet. So can you name, class, at least one of these protocols? So itong protocols, class, ay gamit over the internet. Okay, one is we have HTTP. Okay, what else?
HTTPS.
Okay, we have also HTTPS. What's the difference, class, between HTTP and HTTPS?
More secure than HTTPS.
Okay, that's what they call, class, hypertext transfer protocol secure. So to say, class, it added a secure layer in addition to hypertext transfer protocol. So to say, class, mas ano siya? Mas secure when we do communicate and access websites having the protocol of HTTPS. So more or less, class, many websites are now securing the so-called, class, SSL certificate para maka-append sila sa lang websites o HTTPS. Okay? So websites now, class, are trying to add this SSL layer to their hypertext transfer protocol to secure the communication. Para, class, nga whatever data which travels from these websites, all this data are encrypted and cannot be read from anyone over the internet. That's one benefit class of adding an SSL certificate on top of your hypertext transfer protocol. Okay, so that's one HTTP. So when do we usually class use this HTTP protocol? Para asa man yung HTTP?
For viewing web pages.
Okay, so we normally use class this HTTP for viewing web pages. Mag-browse ka, when you try to browse class Facebook page, you are using HTTP, or shall we say class HTTPS, because Facebook now is now implementing class the SSL certificate on top of their hypertext transfer protocol, because of course mas secure ang data using hypertext transfer protocol secure, or HTTPS nga protocol. Okay, so aside class from hypertext transfer protocol, we do have class your FTP. So para sa man yung FTP nga protocol? Any idea? Class, when do we use FTP or file transfer protocol? Okay, so that's one, to send and receive files. So in particular class, for example, no, when you are trying to upload a photo, a video from your Facebook, you are trying to use class file transfer protocol. So you might not see, you might not be able to see how do this happen, but then it really is using file transfer protocol para class ma-upload imong image from your phone going to the Facebook server. So it uses class file transfer protocol. So this is not so visible with us na FTP di ang gamit diha. Pero class, one thing that you have to remember, when you try to upload and download files over the internet, you are using file transfer protocol. And again, this is commonly used to upload and download files over the internet. For example, no, when you try class to upload a file from your Facebook, mag-upload kasi mong video, imuhang images, you are using their file transfer protocol. So inyo nang ma-apply class. So inig-upload niyo sa inyong Facebook, inyo ka nga, nagamit na din ang FTP. Kaya nag-upload ko picture. So nga na, at least you do not have an understanding kung unsa natabo while you are trying to upload this image. Questions so far, class, or clarifications?
No, sir.
Okay, aside class from HTTP and FTP, what else or what other protocols do we use?
Audio.
Okay, so for email, we do have class SMTP. Okay, so this should have been simple mail. This should have been class SMTP, Simple Mail Transfer Protocol, and Post Office Protocol version 3. So again, we use this protocol class to send and receive email. So perhaps no, you can imagine when you try to use your Gmail, you could think na you are using the SMTP protocol. So ang Google diha, ang Google class uses this SMTP protocol. So unknowingly, we don't know what really happened there, but then all we understand is that to send and receive emails, we use this protocol. And again, protocol classes are set of rules which governs standard communication, so that these devices connected to the internet can readily exchange and receive information. Para same ang information class nga makuha from one device to the other. And that is why we need these protocols. Questions, class, or clarification? Class, other questions?
No, sir.
Now, how about class about DNS? Are you familiar with the term DNS or domain name system? So, para sa mga DNS, can you give me an example of domain name?
Kanang adon meaning, sir?
Example sa domain name.
YouTube.com,
Okay.
Facebook.com.
Okay. So those are examples of domain names. So why do we have domain names?
So it's just an easier way of, instead of putting in IP addresses, you just put a website domain name.
Okay, that's good. Okay, thank you, John Mary. So, again, class, we do have DNS, but it is a lot easier for us to remember these websites. So, as we have known, class, every computer or every device has connected to the internet, it has its own IP address. So, if I say class facebook.com, naa po na siya ihang galingon nga IP addresses. And then take note, class, that Facebook, it has several IP addresses. So it is not just one IP address, but it contains class lots of IP addresses that can be used to access class the website facebook.com. So mo na imong timan-an nga dili ra na usa ka IP address ang gigamit sa Facebook. So daghan siya IP address class depending on your location. Say for example, if you are in the Philippines, lahi ang IP address. If you are in Canada, lahi po na ang IP address sa Facebook. Pero we do have the same domain name, which is facebook.com. So again, it will be a lot harder for us to memorize all these IP addresses. So para more human friendly ang kini nga mga websites, we employ domain name system. So it is just class ang IP address get-translate into human readable format. Pero dili ka pun siya to the point ka numbers na human readable, but in some way in which we could really and easily remember these websites. So we do have this domain name. Example, we have our facebook.com, google.com, youtube.com, visual.edu.ph. These are class examples of domain name. And then I have other question class or clarifications about domain name.
No, sir.
Now, if you don't have a question, I have this question. Is it possible, class, that two websites can have the same domain name?
No, sir.
Okay, why not?
It's the same reason for IP addresses. Kanang confusion.
Okay, so the same reason as sa IP addresses. So since class, this is your domain name is also an identifier for your server, so you cannot have two computers or two devices having the same domain name. So dili po na pwede nga duha ka website the same og domain name. So there is what we call class domain name registration. So imo na i-register imong domain name if wala pa na siya kuha. Kay if otherwise class, if that domain name is already taken, muhatag na siya og lain nga suggestion nga this website is still or this domain name is still free. You can use this domain name. Okay? So yung na class, imo na i-register imong domain name, and then of course you are going to pay an amount for your domain name. For example, ang facebook.com, they are paying a monthly subscription para ma-maintain nila ang domain name nga facebook.com. Okay? The same is true with Google, YouTube, BSU. We are paying perhaps class a yearly subscription to retain this domain name. So otherwise, if you fail to pay their yearly subscription, so matangtang na imuhang domain name. So then perhaps pili na makuha sa uban. Question class or clarification? Class, questions? Now, are you familiar, class, with the term cyber squatter?
Yes, sir.
So, what does it refers to when we say cyber squatter?
Kanang domain name na parehas to a trademark kanang company.
Okay, so it seems to be a legit domain name, pero in reality, it is just a bogus nga website. Say for example, this company, a startup company, is wala pa siya website. And then naay nakahiring nga kini nga company is wala pa website, so naghimuhimo siya gihang mga website without the knowledge class of that company. And then to lure audiences, to lure their possible clients. So they are a way class to do phishing to gather personal information. So you must be careful, class, whether this website is really a legit nga website. Otherwise, it could be you could be a victim of cyber squatting. Okay, so naging mo sa website nga more, for example, class noon ay mag cyber squat sa vsu.edu.ph. So they could have created class a new website having the same appearance sa vsu.edu.ph nga contents, and then in reality dili jud siya under sa vsu.edu, dili jud siya website sa VSU. So it could be that's one example of cyber squatting. So you have to be careful, class, to thoroughly check whether this website is really legit or is a bogus na website. Okay, are there questions, class, or clarifications?
No, sir.
Okay, I hope, class, that's clear. So another thing, class, that we have discussed last week or the last meeting that we have is all about top level domain name. So what do you know, class, about top level domain or TLD?
Sir?
What do you know, or can you give me an example, class, of top level domain?
Top level domain is your .coms, .edus, .gov. Those are top level domains.
Okay, so paasa man ning top level domain?
It's the category of the website.
Okay, so it helps you identify the category of a website. So ano gitawag man sa class of top level domain?
Kanang top. Wala, sir.
Okay, so it is called, class, a top level domain because it is placed on top of your domain name. Okay, so notice, class, that we can have your vsu.edu is your VSU is your domain name, and then .edu.ph there is your top level domain. So it is placed on top of your domain name. So mo na purpose, class, sa top level domain. So again, gitawag siya top level domain because it is placed on top of your domain name to give a specific category for this website to its audience. For example, okay, ano to? For example, class, we have here .com. So mean to say, class, this website is a commercial entity. So commercial, class, mean to say it operates, class, based on the concept of profit. So they are for profit. So they intend, class, to generate income from their websites. For example, facebook.com. Okay, so that's a commercial entity. So how do Facebook, class, earn money?
Through ads.
Okay, so they have their ads. So they do place, class, ads on their, for example, video. If your video, class, has lots of viewers, then they could possibly add these ads to your video, and then from there they are earning based on their sponsors. At the same time, you are also earning kay daghan man viewers, so pwede ka lang tag-add sa imong video, and then from that instance maka-earn pug ka. So you will be encouraged to add more add more photos and videos sa imong page para daghan ang viewers. So that's one. How about, class, ang YouTube? How do they earn income?
Through personalized ads based on your development.
Okay, so based ka po sa, class, sa ads. Okay, so nga na, class, and then you could also observe, class, nga ang mo display nga ads is based on what you have previously clicked. Kung you-click ani nga mga ads, so more or less mao po na ang mo display nga ads sa imong Facebook, imong YouTube, because mao man imong preference. So as you try to navigate, class, from a website, these ads is really tracking on you. They are trying to understand kung unsa imong preference for ads, and then from there they could ma-customize kung unsa mga ads nga ma-appear sa imong pages when you try to open a certain page and then with ads placed on it. Questions, class, or clarification about .com nga top level domain? Or can you give me, class, an example of websites having a top level domain of .com?
YouTube, BuzzFeed,
Okay, BuzzFeed, Twitter, Instagram. Okay, Google. What else? Okay, Facebook, Yahoo. Okay, perhaps Yahoo is still alive. Canva. Okay, YouTube. Okay, nba.com, right?
Minecraft, delete.net man guys.
Okay. So another top-level domain class is all about .edu. So the .edu class meant to say this website is an educational entity. Example, visu.edu.ph, Southern Leyte State U.edu.ph, lnu.edu.ph. So again, if you can see a website class having a top-level domain of .edu, meant to say is an educational entity. It's either a website for a school or university or any academic institution. Question, class, or clarification? Questions, class?
No, sir.
None. So I hope class is clear. Then another one is .org, which stands class for non-profit organization. So meant to say, class, again, any websites class having a top-level domain of .org, meant to say these are non-profit. So kung non-profits class, meant to say they are based on donations, they operate based on donations or sponsors. And they do not really into this profit, or they do not do into this uh, generating income. Their website does not promote on any commercial operation. That's .org nga top level domain. Example, unicef.org, ubuntu.org, and we have their wikipedia.org. So again, class, these are non-profit organization. They do operate based, class, on your donations, sponsors, and mga benefactors nila. Question, class, or clarification about .org nga top level domain? Or can you give me, class, some other example of websites having a top level domain of .org? Class, pakai example?
Teamtrees.org.
Okay.
Teamtrees.org.
Some more. Basta, class, any websites nga .org is a non-profit organization. So for example, class, kung po no, if you are planning to run your own non-profit organization, and then you wanted to have, class, a website for publicity so that you can attract more donors and benefactors, then you can have this top level domain of .org. Okay. Then another one, class, is we have here .net, to say this website is involved in internet operation. Example, class, we have here speedtest.net. So on speedtest, class, this is used to test how fast is your internet connection. Then we do have here your inquirer.net. Some more, class, some more websites which uses a .net nga top level domain.
Minecraft.net.
Okay, minecraft.net. Some more. Wala. Sa tao siya. Roadblock. Okay. Then another one, class, is those websites having a top level domain of .gov. So .gov, class, I mean to say this is a government agency. So or shall I say, class, this website is owned by a government agency. For example, we have here the ost.gov.ph, psa.gov.ph, deped.gov.ph. So me to say again, class, .gov, this website is owned by a government institution or a government agency. Can you cite some, class, an example of websites having a .gov top level domain?
DOH.gov.
Okay, we have a doh.gov.ph. So, I mean to say this website is owned by the Department of Health. Philvox.dost.gov.ph. Some more. Okay, dost.gov.ph. Some more, class.
May ka ng FBI.gov, sir.
I'm not so sure, pero yes, it could be. FBI.gov.ph, NBI.gov.ph. Okay, here I guess here's from from Joanna, data.gov. So again, class, our government is pushing for freedom of information. So from here, I guess the data.gov, so is where we can download data from our government. So it's one move to have this freedom of information since we are now at the age class of information age. Okay, so another one class is we have here .mil. So mean to say if you counter class websites having a top level domain of .mil, mean to say this is owned and maintained by military entity. Example, we have here army.mil.ph, that's a website of Philippine Army. And then army.mil, that's a website for US military. Question, class, or clarification?
No, sir.
Okay, so I hope class that's clear. Then in addition class, from those mentioned earlier, we do also have these country codes. So for example, we have here the st.gov.ph. So aside from .gov, we do also append .ph. So mean to say class, .ph, mean to say this website is particularly owned and operated in the Philippines. So if makita mo website class nga na .ph, that website resides or is maintained and owned by a Filipino. Okay, nag.ph man ang iyang top level domain. Okay, we have here from US, .us nga country code, .ca for Canada, .uk for United Kingdom, and then we have here .jp for Japan. Some more example class, some more country codes that you have known. Aside from this, what is presented in your slide. Can you give me some more example class of country codes? Unsa country code sa Korea? Or sa South Korea?
SK?
Okay, that's okay. You can do a search maybe later to see what's the country code for Korea. Okay, yung mga BTS fan. Okay, so question class or clarification.
Sir.
Okay, so klaro na class about these things, the top level domain. So another one class is we do have here your uniform resource locator. So what do you think class is the difference between when you say a domain name and this URL? Any idea?
Kalimut na ko, sir. Ang sa ganun.
Okay, can you read? Christian? Or hinay mo internet Christian? Okay? Okay, go ahead Christian.
Entire web address of a specific resource over the internet.
Okay, sorry for this class. It should have been the entire web address of a specific resource over the internet. So mean to say class, it's the actual location of the file in which you are trying to access, or shall I say class, it's the actual location of the page that you are trying to access. So for example class now, this one, you have here your HTTPS. Okay, for a while. Okay, HTTPS here class, this is your what we call class your protocol. Okay, this is your protocol used for viewing web pages. Since this is a web page, so this uses class your hypertext transfer protocol. Okay, your domain here, your domain name class is this one, learning.vsu. Okay, this is your domain name. While your edu.ph, this is now class your top level domain used. .edu mean to say this is an educational website. .ph class mean to say this website is owned and maintained in the Philippines or is owned by a Filipino. And then index here, this is shall we say class a folder. This is the folder, or shall I say class the directory And then finally, index.php, this is now your actual page, or shall we say class, your actual nga web page. So, mo ni mo actual web page nga gi-access as of the moment. So again, you have there your domain name or your protocol, then domain name, followed by your top level domain, then your folder or directory, and then finally your web page. So index.php class mo ni imuhang actual web page nga imong gi-access when you try to log into elearning.vsu.edu.ph. So ingan ni class ang level of hierarchy sa ato ang uniform resource locator. So it is quite longer as compared to your domain name. Anong longer man siya? Because again, it contains the actual location of the page that you are trying to visit. So munang taas ang URL. Sabtang class, if I say google.com, it is just a domain name. Pero if I give you class this example, this is now an URL. Anong URL man? Because again, it contains the actual location of the file, at the same time, the name of the web page that you are trying to open. Muna ni class ang gitawag og URL. Uniform Resource Locator. And in some instances class, this is also known as URI. Pare-pareharan ang class when you say URL and URI. So, usa po ng URI. Ang URI class stands for Uniform Resource Identifier. So it has the same function with your URL, wherein it contains class the actual location of the page that you are trying to open. That's your URI. So pare-pareharan na class ang URL and URI. Questions class or clarifications?
No, sir.
Class, nasabtan pa? Am I still clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so next class is that we do have here web browser. Why do we use class web browser?
To explore the internet.
To explore the internet. What else?
Search of web
Open
page.
websites.
To open websites. What else?
Search in Google or whatever search kanang browser they use. It's the browser is using.
Okay, to search information over the internet. Okay, to open web pages. Some more idea, class? Ideas?
To give personalization.
Okay, you can personalize. Can you give me an example of a web browser?
Edge, Mozilla.
Okay, Edge from Microsoft, Mozilla, or the Firefox from mozilla.org. What else?
Google Chrome.
Google Chrome from Google. What else?
Internet Explorer.
Internet Explorer. That was long before the Edge browser was introduced. We still use class that Internet Explorer. Yes, we have Safari. Safari class Safari was introduced by what company?
Apple.
Okay, that was introduced by Apple company. Some more browsers that you have known?
DuckDuckGo, sir.
Okay, DuckDuckGo, privacy browser. Okay, familiar si John Mary, gamit kag DuckDuckGo? Okay, so we have here another web browser, Opera. Opera class, I have tried using Opera sa kato pa mga Symbian OS. So that's the web browser they're using right as a Symbian. So long before class nga nigawas mga Android phones. We use class Symbian OS type nga mobile phone. So we do have, but still right now class, Opera is still operating and we can still use this as a browser, whether it be for mobile, Android, iOS, or for desktop application or for desktop nga computer. We can still use this Opera.
Opera GX, sir. Kanang pang gaming.
Okay, Opera GX for gaming. And then we have here, I guess, let me check the chat box. Murag na mention of Microsoft Edge, Google Chrome, Opera, Safari. So these are some examples class of web browsers. So again, ang web browser class, these are applications used to view web pages. So whenever class you want to check a website, a web page, of course you need class web browsers. So why do we need this web browser? Because class, ang web browser, they have the capability to interpret and display a website. Kaya sila class ang makasabot about HTML, because if we don't have class this HTML, or if we don't have this web browser, we cannot really see these websites, because these websites class are written by means of hypertext transfer, that is hypertext markup language. Okay, that's the language used to create a website. So it's hypertext transfer or hypertext markup language, or the so-called class HTML, and it's only a web browser which can interpret and render these lines of code into a web page. So maning mag-need ta og web browser. An example of these web browsers class includes, we have here Google Chrome, Safari. Ang Google Chrome class was again introduced by Google. Then Safari was introduced to us by Apple company. Then Firefox from Mozilla. And then Edge class from Microsoft. And then long before class the Edge browser was introduced, we do use class your Internet Explorer. Then unsa may pinakauna class nga web browser?
Internet Explorer.
Explorer.
That was the main browser for Windows users. I think it's maybe the first.
Okay. So the first web browser used was Netscape. Okay? Netscape siya. Then after sa Netscape ni gawas ang Netscape class was a web browser released to us by Apple company. Kay long before class nag-introduce ang Microsoft Corporation o graphical user interface nga operating system. It was the Mac OS who was the one to introduce to us your graphical user interface nga operating system. And then part of their application was this Netscape. Okay? Ang Netscape class ang una nga web browser. And then from Netscape, nag-release ang Microsoft o Internet Explorer. So from Internet Explorer, ilang bago Internet Explorer, and here comes now the Edge. So the moment class gi-release ang Edge, it marks class the end or the death of Internet Explorer. So Internet Explorer has been there for many years now, and then gipulihan siya og Edge. So muna, Internet Explorer is now dead. Okay, question class or clarifications about web browser. So although classes are just few popular nga web browser, there are still a lot of browsers that you can use, like Opera, the one mentioned by John Mary, ang iyang DuckDuckGo nga privacy browser. There is basta kay daghan pa ng browsers nga available on the market depending on your needs. Kaya there are browsers class nga naay built-in nga VPN. Like Opera class, they have their built-in VPN ang Opera. Okay, questions class or clarifications?
No, sir.
None, sir.
Okay, so finally class, let's talk about internet services. Now before we talk class about internet services, is there really a difference when I say web and internet? Na ba difference class? If I say internet and web? Or shall I say, can the internet exist without the web? Or how about the other way around? Can the web exist without internet? Nalibo class? Okay, class, any idea before I show you the contents of this slide? Class, any idea? Sa difference between web and internet?
Yes, sir.
Say, unsa may difference between web and internet? Do I refer to the same thing? What's right? Mag-surf ko sa internet or mag-surf ko sa web?
Website is kanang web page. The internet is the group of computers.
Which one is right? I'll surf with the internet or I'll surf with the web?
Answer
Asa may sakto? Mag-surf ko sa web or mag-surf ko sa internet?
Surf the web.
Okay. So to clarify things, class, we are going to discuss this internet services. And one of the internet services, which I'm going to talk this afternoon, is about the World Wide Web, or should I say, class, web. So your web, class, is just one service offered by the internet. Since we have known, class, that internet is the backbone on which the web operates. So, mean to say, class, kung wala internet, then web cannot exist. Or the other way around, web cannot exist without the internet. So, internet, class, is basically the group of computers connected together and operates as one entity. So, na-connect siya such that they are able to exchange information. And since they are able, class, to exchange information, na-exist ang web. So, mo na ang World Wide Web, or in short, class, web, which is typically used for viewing and publishing information. So, kung mag-surf ka, you are using web service. And then another service, class, offered by the internet is that we do have email. So, with email, class, diba, it uses the SMTP POP3 protocol to send and receive messages. Email, class, stands for
Electronic mail.
okay, that stands for electronic mail. So it's more convenient, class, to send letters or emails or messages via email. Okay, and then aside, class, from email, we do have instant messaging, or shall I say, class, IM. So what's the difference between email and instant messaging? Any idea? What's the difference, class, between email and instant messaging or IM?
Kailangan instant messaging with messaging app.
Okay, there is an instant message. So there's a real-time exchange of information. So ang instant messaging is na asa real time. So mean to say, class, kung magamit ka og messenger, di ba, you communicate in real time. So that is an instant messaging. Pero, class, if you do send email to a message to anyone who is offline, and then lengthy po imo ang information, and somewhat, class, more professional way to communicate with other individual, you should use email. Okay, for example, you are trying to file a complaint on this company. So of course, dili ka mo send via IM, pwede ka mo email sila, ha. Pero somehow, class, like for example, no, ato ang mga ISP karon, they are shifting from email to IM. So na sila itawag, class, o mga chatbot. Okay? Na sa chatbot to communicate with us instantly before these agents can really talk to us. So we are first entertained by chatbots. So these are samples, class, of instant messaging application. So again, class, ang email, this is not meant to be replied in real time. So you could not expect, class, that the recipient is going to read and reply your message at once. So pwede siya anytime niya basahon, or pwede niya anytime replyan yung message. Pero with instant messaging, there's a real-time exchange of messages. So in instant messaging, class, we do expect that this individual is also online, so that there is a simultaneous exchange of messages. Pero somehow, class, nang po iba nga mo message ta bisag offline sila. And then when they get back online, they can read our messages. It is still part, class, of instant messaging. Okay? Question or clarifications, class, about email and instant messaging?
No, sir.
Then another service, class, na gi-offer sa internet is we do have video conferencing. So sa una, chat-chat lang, pero karon we do now have, class, video conferencing. Can you give me, class, some application used to do video conferencing?
Ito ng real friends.
O sana? Okay, we can see them with their video in real time. What else? Or also may line application, or may mga applications used to do video conferencing. One, class, is we have the right now, ito gamit karon, we are using Google Meet. So that's one video conferencing application built on top of the internet. Then we have Zoom. Yes, we do have Zoom class. Then we do have also Skype. Skype, Zoom. These are some few of the Google messaging of the video conferencing application that we can use. Facebook Messenger also offers class video conferencing. Google Meet, na po sila video conferencing. Google Hangouts. Okay, Google Hangouts class is na po sila video conferencing. And another class from Meta, WhatsApp. Okay, are you familiar class with WhatsApp? How many of you here class have WhatsApp?
No, sir, never used it.
Okay, so this is still class built by Meta company, sa katong gitawag sa unang Facebook, and then Facebook rebranded itself to Meta, and then they are using class. They do have this what was that, the WhatsApp. So it's just like class, the same with Viber, and then nawang Viber ni puli ang WhatsApp. Okay, so we have here over conferencing. You can make calls to FaceTime from iPhones. We do have these applications for video conferencing. Question, class, or clarifications about this slide?
No, sir, no questions.
Okay, good. Then aside class from video conferencing, we do have here your social networks. Wherein with social network site, we can interact with other people in a cyberspace. Can you give me class an example of social networking site?
Facebook.
Okay, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. So those are the most popular na, yes, we have our Instagram. Those are the most popular class na social networking site. And then way back class, katong nag-college ko, we do have Friendster. And then Friendster class was killed by its opponent, the Facebook. Pag nandun sa Facebook, nawa ang Friendster. So, nga na siya. So, then we do have also MySpace. MySpace, MySpace is no longer popular. Murag nawa po ng MySpace pag nandun sa Facebook. So, it's a way for us to interact. And then we do have class blogs. It's a way to express oneself over the internet. You can create your own you can express class your creative writing through blogs. There are blogs class which offers for free, while other blogging site requires you to pay. Okay, Facebook class is one site which you can create your own blog. You can create your own pages. You can write there your own creative writings, and then for the world to see your creativity. So nga nasa blogs. You can blog about yourself, about your travel, about your interest, and almost anything that you wanted to blog. You can do that with a blogging site. Question, class, or clarification?
No, sir.
Then of course class, with the internet we can play online games. So we can interact with other users via cyberspace. So we can interact with them. We wanted to play other users from different countries or different regions or different municipalities. We do have these online games.
Sir,
Yes, Jan Mary?
wala ka sa una World of Warcraft.
So for a while na. Ako sa ni exit. Ang nang bilag.